Hi and welcome to my playhouse, and on many requests I'm back in the data center. And I might sound a little weird because I've been sick for a couple of days, but today I would like to show you some blade servers and my BladeCenters. I have two BladeCenters, but I have really only used one of them. I have IBM BladeCenter, and the model is the model, what is it? I think it's E, the model E. It's not the H, because the H is taller than the model E or S. I think it's a model E, but never mind that. And I would like to show you how to use BladeCenter. And the really great thing about these IBM BladeCenters is they're fairly cheap now. You can still buy them, but it's not the product that IBM is really trying to sell. The one that are being sold now is probably mostly to replace other equipment that, well, when you buy a BladeCenter, the BladeCenter is a real hassle because it's very big. It's like 7 U's tall. This is 2 U. Oh, this one might actually only be, yeah, it's 7 U. A new BladeCenter is a hassle to get because it's pretty expensive in shipping because it's so big and heavy. It's 7 U high, and if you buy a new one, it comes on its own pallet and stuff like that, and it has some really heavy power supplies on the back of it. A unit like this has 4 power supplies, and they're each 1200 watts, I think is the normal wattage, and it needs 2 power supplies to really run. It will start up on one, but if you then put in servers, it will not run them all if you don't have 2. And you can then put in 4, and then you will have redundancy. I haven't looked up the price for an empty BladeCenter on eBay yet, but I will, and I'll put it down here what the price at the video, what I could just scrap one of these for. It has some plugins on the back of it for LAN or fiber optics and stuff like that, and that varies the price because some of these cards can be very expensive. But the main thing is to get the BladeCenter, and when you got the BladeCenter, you can start getting the blades, and the blades are very cheap as well. And there's no problem, you can buy a cheap blade and you can put in a better processor. Normally you can buy the really low-end processor blade servers for next to nothing. Like this is an see the number down there? It's an HS21, and these goes for not a lot of money, actually almost no money at all. And there are some models that are even older. I have some over here that's an LS21, and that's with an AMD Optron processor, and they're even cheaper. I think, maybe, they might be cheaper. And then there's the newer model. This is the, it doesn't say, I think it's the 22. A newer model, and you of course have to pay a little more for those, but they are still fairly cheap. And the good thing is that when you buy a blade, you just buy the computing power. You don't buy everything around it. If you buy an entire server like these, you buy power supply and you buy all the stuff that makes a server work. And there's some savings in getting all that in one box and then buying these blades. And there's some ups and downs to that. One of the problems is that a BladeCenter it eats up power very well. If you have a BladeCenter and you are only using it for 2 blades, those blade servers will be eating up a lot of power. If you put in all 14 blades, it will be a good deal. But there is somewhere where that tips over, where it's from good to bad. And yeah, I found that the BladeCenter uses about a minimum of 800 watts to run. So for 2 servers to use 800 watts is a bit much. So you have to put in, I think, between 5 and 6 blades, and it's about okay. When you're running 5 to 6 blades, it's okay, because then the amount of power they're using is about the same as the amount of calculating power or computing power you get out of it. So, but let's have a look at some blade servers. This is a rather old blade server. It has a DVD drive, but it also have a floppy disk, so you get all the options. And it has a USB port, and as far as I remember, this is only a USB 1.1, so it's a bit slow, but otherwise it's good. Yeah, let's take out a blade, and the way you do that is it has these blue handles that pops out, and the very last part of it pulls out of the connection inside, and you can take out the blade server. Then there's 2 ways to put this on a blade server. There's an explanation of how to do it, and you can actually write some information on your blade server what this blade is doing, because they're all alike. The normal thing is to write a label on them. So, as with all other IBM servers, there's a nice explanation on the back of it of everything, how to do this and how to do that. And I don't think we want to look at that just yet. We want to see inside, so let's see inside. It has some pushing devices on the side of it, and it's like a little blue thing that you press, and also here. It has a blue thing up here too, but that's to take the front of it. But the big blue thing is to open the... It's kind of like a car. You open up and get into the engine department. There we are. And when it's open, you can actually take this off. It's like it has some funny things that goes on, and it just snaps down, and when you lock it, it's good, and you can take it off. So this is a blade server, and it's got everything except the power supply, and the network card is not really on here. It's the network card is in the blade chassis, but it has room for 2 hard drives. This one has 1 hard drive, that's right here, and it's an, what is this? It's an SAS hard drive, but it can also be a SATA. And it goes down like this, and it has an extra room for another hard drive, which is not in. I haven't put in an extra hard drive. And it has room for 4 memory slots right there. And I'm pretty sure these are, I have 4 gigabytes memory slots in. Let's see the memory. Yeah, 4 gigabytes. And these are, well, probably DDR RAM 2, probably. And it has this thing to, yeah, I don't know what this is for. It sits over the RAM doing something. And it has 2 processors. I'm not gonna take those apart, it's a hassle. But it's 2 rather big cooling sinks, because they are so flat, so they have to be wider instead. And the air is being blown through them from the front of the blade server. And there are no blowers in this thing at all. All the air movement is in the BladeCenter itself. And that's why if you have a BladeCenter like this, it's very important not to have gaps like this, because then it will blow in fake air. Then you have to have a placer. This is a fake BladeCenter server, and it makes sure that when you put this in, there's the same resistance in this one as in a blade server. And it might look like there's a lot of holes here, but on the back there's a plate here to stop the air coming through. If you don't put in a placeholder like that, your BladeCenter or other blade servers might overheat. I haven't had that happen on me, but it might happen. If you have like 3 blade servers in one end, if you have like 3 blade servers in one end and all the rest is open, then the blade chassis will just blow the air through where there's nothing, and these won't get cooled enough. So yeah, I have some placeholders here, and it's these old AMDs. They're in, but they're not really plugged in. They're just in there to be a placeholder. So what else do we have on here? Out here we have the power regulators for the processors, 2 of them. When you buy these, they look like this pretty much all the time. No, I'm not sure on that. If you buy one, you can get them with only 1 processor. I don't know, I've never had one with only 1 processor, so it might be a fake, or there might just be an empty cooler on top of it. But yeah, it has everything except all the things that it doesn't need to have. On the back of it, it has room for some expansion cards. You can get some normally really expensive expansion cards for these servers. It's small cards that you put in, and it has some plugs to the... No, it doesn't. They actually plug into these connections, so you can have extra network cards, or you can have iSCSI adapter and fiber optic adapter or something. And what you can also do is to have this module only have room for 4 memory slots, but you can actually extend it with this plug, and you can build one more on top of it with extra stuff. I think mostly memory. I haven't done this option, but I know that it's an option. And there's a nice cover. These plugs are really small. To break those is to ruin the entire thing. And I just saw that underneath here is the memory card right there. That's a bit odd to me that a server needs a memory card. I thought that a blade server needs a memory card. I would probably myself have put the memory card on. Well, I don't know. Well, that's the HS21. Let's have a look at another one. Let's have a look at the AMD one. They look very similar. The casings, I think, is exactly the same. The label is of course exchanged because the AMD is a bit different inside. So we'll just open the helmet of the little car here. And this actually has an expansion card, but it only have one hard drive, and it has 8 memory slots instead of 4. So, and it has it even has a little plastic thing, and I think that's to help the airflow in the server. But here the processors are not. One is over. Oh, it has gotten a bit dusty over the summer. One processor is here and one processor is here. I think this model is a bit older than the Intel version we just saw. But it has the same graphics card there, and this. I think it's an older model, and it has an expansion card, which is a iSCSI adapter that plugs in like this, and it's just a card that comes in, and it uses the connections that are already in the Blade server. Down here, you can't see those. The connections down here, and they're like doubled, and I think this is for redundancy. I'm not totally sure, but I think these connections is the same, so that they get power from 2 systems in the BladeCenter. Let's put this back. There we are. And we have the same thing up here, that this server can be extended onto another one. Have a big connection there. A bit dusty. And I have been using this like a placeholder, so I haven't really put in a hard drive. And this card, this iSCSI adapter, is really supposed to make this server work without a hard drive, so that it can boot from the iSCSI adapter, like it can boot over the network. That when the server boots, this card will connect to some storage. It can be storage like on a QNAP system like this, or a Synology box like this, or the Ecologic boxes that I have up there. It has a little error button down here, and the other server that we just looked at had the same button. We didn't see it, and it tells you if there's an error on the system here. It can tell you where the error is at. I don't know if this one has it, but if there is a memory error, you can normally press the button and then there will be a light diode flashing up at the memory block that is bad. That's a very neat feature when you're having an error on this system. Well, that was the LS21. Let's put that back. And then have a look at the HS22. And same chassis, just another label on the back. And I think it has a lot more memory slots, looks like on the drawing. Yeah, it does. They have changed the system so that now the hard drives is on the front. Just look at that here. So now you can change a hard drive without shutting down the system. And that's kind of neat, because if this Blade server was doing something important, it would be irritating to shut it down to replace a bad hard drive. Let's go back in, take the cover off. Apparently this server is more efficient because the CPU coolers has reduced in size. There's room for more memory slots. Yeah. It has a CMOS battery, and it has a USB on the system board. You can actually put a USB stick inside of the server that it can boot on. And that's a nice little feature, that if you want to run VMware on a server like this, you can boot it on the internal USB stick. And that's a very nice feature, because VMware, it doesn't fill up much. It's like a couple of 100 megabytes or something like that, and no reason for it not to be inside then. Because the hard drives, they tend to fail over time, and they use power. A small USB stick, it doesn't use very much power. So that's a nice feature for this server. Otherwise, there's not much to see in here. There's the same connection for building on top of this server. There's a new system for an expansion card here. I haven't seen an expansion card for this model, but it must exist. I don't know if this is used for another expansion card. There might be the option for putting in an expansion card or putting on a top version of this. It's very much like two Blade servers on top of each other. So And this server, even though it has more memory slots, it's only 12 gigabytes of memory, so actually less than the other one. So, yeah. And let's look at this. Here I just found the answer for the question that I asked before. This connection, the big white one, is used for another expansion card, and there's another type of expansion card that goes over the connection on the other side and out to the back. So you get a lot of good information on the back, and I really ought to read these before I make these videos. And then we have the hard drive and control panel, and yeah, how to take some of this apart. And there's an explanation of what is what inside of the server, which is really neat. So pretty cool. I'll put this back together. This model of BladeCenter is not really designed for this type of server. At least it complains a lot when you install a server, a Blade server of this model, HS22. It complains and says this server is not supposed to be in this BladeCenter. So it kind of works anyway. And the same attends to some of the blades, so the processors in these blades. They're not able to run all processors, but some of them might just be complaining. But yeah, the best thing is to get a processor that doesn't complain. Okay, I climbed back on the back of the servers, and this is the back of the BladeCenter, and there's like, it has these 4 power supplies, and I was wrong, these are 2000 watts power supplies, and there are 4 of those. 1, 2, 3, 4. And there are expansion modules on both sides, so there's 2 expansion modules here and 2 expansion modules here, and the same thing, oh, not the same thing, but there's 1 model here and 1 model here. But these are not really expansion models, it's managing models. So here you connect your monitor and your network. This is for the management of the server, of the BladeCenter. And here you connect your keyboard and mouse. And there's another one up here not used, weird. And you have the option to put in a secondary managing model, so that you have 2 for redundancy. And when you turn this on, these plastic things will break out. I don't seem to be able to get those right now, but they will be out and air will be coming through because of 2 very big fans. This is a very big fan, and it runs very fast, and you can see inside. Oops. That. And over here we have, these are network connections. Actually, these are small individual switches normally. This is a Cisco integrated gigabit Ethernet switch module. and it's kind of it's 4 port gigabit switch, and it connects to all the modules inside. And there's 2 empty ones not used. But this is the BladeCenter that I haven't used yet. It was just the easiest one to get to. The other one is up there, behind all the cables. We can just have a peek at it, but it's not as easy to get to. It's a bit another model. You can see the management model. It has old cables instead of the new ones. PS2 ports for connecting keyboard and mouse. But the switches are kind of the same. And there's 2 missing down here. I got these with a lot of funny switches, and I didn't need them all. Well, so if you need 14 servers, there's 14 slots in a Blade server like this. It's a really good option, and you can get really powerful servers in these slots. You can actually get all the 2U servers. The processors from those are normally available in the Blade servers as well. So a Blade server can be just as powerful as a 2U standard 3650 or similar like that. So a really good option to maximize the amount of servers in a data center. A huge problem is the heat that is generated from 14 servers on a very tight space like that. You need a really good airflow, and I have a lot of problems in my data center here. If I turn this on, I have to get more airflow in here than I have on the normal running conditions. Right now it's not normal running conditions. Most of the equipment is off. Actually only 2 servers is on and some storage. But if you have the cooling for it, it's really good. And I've never seen a box, a chassis die. I have seen Blade servers die, get broken, but I've never seen a chassis, the BladeCenter itself, go down. I have seen the management model die. Actually, I think one of my management models is pretty bad, so it tends to die very easily. But that doesn't mean that the servers stop running. It's just the management module, and I can go out here and I can I can poke it with a little stick, and it will reboot the management model, but not the servers. So that's kind of neat. So, yeah, if this is probably not for the typical hobby dude at home, because it uses a lot of power, and the investment for the BladeCenter itself is a bit big. I haven't checked the prices yet. I should have when I edit this. But just standing here, I would expect that to get a couple of servers running in a BladeCenter, you probably spend near to $1,000, and that's a lot more than getting a couple of these 3650 Model 1 running. So if you think about getting a good old used IBM BladeCenter, it's because you need 5 or 6 servers, and then it would be good. It would be a fantastic VMware home lab with 5 and 6 Blade servers running VMware, and the old 2100 HS21. You can't put in very much memory in that. I think it's about 32 gigabytes. I'll look that up. But the newer one, the HS22, there was like 8 memory slots in that, so you can put more memory in that one. I'll look that up as well. So thank you for watching my video. Do subscribe to my channel so that you can see me again. Have a nice day. Bye bye.